Super Progressive, what is good? We have a very special interview on the Saturday of ADE today. We are joined by ascending star in the underground scene, Sinca. How are you doing?
Good, how are you? Super happy to be here with you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be speaking with you. For the viewers who may not know, I first became aware of you and your music at the Bedrock Showcase, the Bedrock event at Miami Music Week earlier this March.
That was fun.
So much fun. I did a whole post about your opening set and how I
Yeah.
thought it was so great. And then here we are, just, one sec. Okay, so I had so much fun at your opening set, and here we are, literally only 7 months later, and you have accomplished so much. And I want to kind of go through accomplishment during this interview. But let's start with where we are now. You've had quite the week. It's been last weekend you were opening up Flash Washington DC for Danny Tenaglia. This week you were asked to be the only other DJ at first featured on the Bedrock event with John Digweed, and when he had to take some time for his health, you were then sharing the stage with Guy J and Henry Size, and it just seems like everything has been going so well for you, moving so quickly. What has this ADE been like compared to years past?
Oh, that's a great question. So my first ADE was 2 years ago, and it was great. It was definitely, you can definitely feel that it's the place to be for the music industry, at least the electronic music industry. And it was a bit of a change this year because I truly feel that there's a bit more of momentum towards my music project and a lot more comments about like how well I'm doing and stuff like that, which feels great because I work super hard. And 2 years ago it was great too, but I feel like this year has been really, really amazing and rewarding. So really happy I came.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to let's talk about the relationship you're building with Bedrock, because you had the Miami Music Week Bedrock event. You had your remix released of an iconic Bedrock track released on Bedrock. And not only was it an official Bedrock release, it's the opening track of John Digweed's, the final installment of the Live In series from John Digweed, Live in Stereo. You have the first track on what is assuredly going to be a historic mix album. What's that honor like?
Thank you. Yeah, I think, and I didn't have the chance to have this conversation with him, so it did come as a surprise. I had no idea it was going to be the first track. And I think it also comes from the fact that he dedicated the album to Stereo, Montreal. And, it's my hometown. So I'm guessing he also made that decision based on that, going like, okay, I have this amazing album and I want to, do a little link to the fact that it's in Montreal. And I'm a very proud Montrealer, very proud of Stereo as well, as a club, very good reputation, probably one of the best clubs in the world. And I actually saw him play, I think it was back in May. I saw him play at Stereo. So he played my track and it felt very, very special. It was the first time I could hear my track on such amazing speakers, and having John himself play the track, I had tears in my eyes, like it felt really, really good. So I think from that moment, perhaps that's when he kind of made the decision to have it as a first track, and it's obviously a huge honor.
It's really amazing. It sounds like these stories that go back as far as the history of this, house music itself, of clubbers starting their love for this music on the dance floor, being inspired to start producing, and then go from dance floor to DJ booth. And the fact that you were able, to experience that of Stereo of all places, that's really unbelievable.
Yeah, it's totally. And I always saw, when I started this career, I always saw John as like, this icon that's like kind of unapproachable. And someday it just happened. I did my first guest mix on his transition show, and then he asked me to do the remix, and everything went on afterwards, and I had the chance to finally like meet him officially in person in the Miami Bedrock showcase, and he was super nice, super humble, and yeah, it feels really good to build this kind of connection with such an icon and important person in the scene.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about your Bedrock event here because um, obviously John's I think the whole underground community kind of took a sigh of relief when everyone's going to miss him here, but when John said he's going to take some time for his health, because everybody really just wants him, to have a healthy recovery.
100%, yeah.
I want to talk to you a little bit about how the event went, because I'm curious if, with the absence of John and still amazing star DJs, legends, Guy J, Henry Size, did it still feel like a Bedrock event? And what are some characteristics that you can talk about, like what makes a Bedrock event unique?
That's a very interesting question. So of course John was missed, but as you said, we're all like happy that he's taking care of himself, and so that he comes back even stronger. It did feel like a Bedrock event in the sense of like it's a very cool, open-minded, positive community around Bedrock, but still that likes the underground like stuff. And sometimes like the underground, like very underground community has like this reputation of being a little bit darker and whatever, but it's still like very very happy. And actually, the darker and groovier the tracks are, the happier it makes people, and that's a very interesting connection to make with the Bedrock crowd and community. So it really felt like a Bedrock show, but obviously, obviously we missed John. Yeah.
I mentioned earlier in the interview that just this past weekend you were opening up Flash Washington, D.C. for Danny Tenaglia. I think you've had some really amazing, one-of-a-kind experiences of
Yeah.
serving as an opening DJ or DJing on the same bill alongside some huge legends like Danny Tenaglia, like John Digweed. Have you learned anything by not just being in their presence, but seeing how they DJ, seeing how they operate as professionals, and has it been kind of like a educational experience as well?
100%. They've been in the industry for so long, and they've seen it evolve, they've seen it changed. I've had the chance to have a chat with John, like going like, if you had one advice to give me, what would it be? And he said, build good connections, especially with the club owners and the promoters, because at the end of the day, these are the most important connections you're going to make, because they're going to want to rebook you, etc. And that was actually a very good insight, because as an artist, we don't always have this direct contact with them, because we have agents and a team, and but they're still like very important people to meet and connect and just get along with. So that was a very good advice. But in terms of DJing, I definitely look at like little details, and it's always very impressive, the way the technical side of things, but also the track selection, the journey that they bring people. It's very inspiring for an artist, an emerging artist like me. Um, and just the fact that they're still doing what they're doing, and they're still thriving on the international scene, after so long, it's just very inspiring for someone that wants to make it long term as well, like me. So yeah, it's been a great learning experience for sure.
Awesome. And kind of more a technical question along this. John, his biggest fans know that he uses an Allen and Heath zone mixer. I'm not sure of the specific model,
Yes,
but
yes.
when you're planning to open open a room with John, sometimes I'm sure some clubs, it's all different based on the promoters you work with. Sometimes they'll have both mixers there. Have you been in a position where you may have had to learn how to use the Allen and Heath like early ahead of
Yeah.
time, just so you can feel comfortable on the decks and give the set that you know that you want to give?
That's actually a very good question because they did ask me if I wanted to use that same mixer, of course, for the simplicity of logistics, but also for the flow of the night. Because when you switch mixers, of course, there's like a little bit of a cut, and you can't really have like a good transition to the next DJ. Um, I I'm a perfectionist and I want my sets to be perfect and I also want to be like comfortable playing. So I did ask to keep the Pioneer um, version, but I really want to learn. Like, of course, like legends like John like mix on this mixer, and I know it sounds great. But yeah, I've been in positions where I didn't have a choice and I had to kind of improvise, but it's good to be challenged sometimes. I think it's good. I'm someone that loves to like learn and embrace opportunities. So it's definitely something I want to keep learning to learn how to DJ on different mixers. I think is very important. Yeah.
I think a lot of up and coming DJs and producers can, we all look up to like our idols and our heroes, but I think you serve as a perfect example and role model of what a lot of up and coming DJs and producers can look to, because there's not one defined path in this industry to go and make that next step like you've made this year. But I think a lot of up and coming DJs, producers, people who really want to make this passion of theirs into a career can look to you as an example. And I was wondering, since you in kind of in the middle of this ascension and really have just been experiencing more and more success, what type of advice would you give to someone in your shoes, let's say 2 years ago, who is really hungry for this, really passionate, and is just looking for any additional guidance or advice on progressing through this scene? Because there's no one direct way to do it.
Well, thank you for your positive feedback, and I think there, like you said, it's not a linear path. I think to each their own way to kind of make it. It all starts from the quality of the sets and the quality of music that comes out. But it's I think in terms of like mindset, I've met so many other artists that are a little bit discouraged, which is normal sometimes because the industry is very competitive and rough. So the moment I switched my mindset to I went full time into music only a year ago, so it's also very fresh for me to be focused entirely on that, and it's very stressful sometimes. And I just switched my mindset to look, just do your best, and we'll see, and just kind of relax and take things very positively. And like even sometimes I send demos to some labels and they say no, not for us. I Sinca 4 years ago would have cried. Like I was so sensitive to negative feedback, and now I'm just like, not meant to be, and like moving on. And I think that's the right kind of mindset, and I think the mindset is one of the most important things because it's truly what keeps you going, although it's hard. So you just gotta have like some kind of confidence in yourself. Just see things as opportunities, even when it's like when you feel like it might be negative. Just see it as something positive at the end of the day in the big picture. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's been life changing for me, and it's crazy to feel that once you switch to that mindset, things come to you a lot more, and you're a lot more receptive to them as well, and you enjoy like the positive things a lot more too. So I think the mindset is the most important thing.
I'm sure as things get busier and busier for you, the list of all the things to do must just keep growing and growing. Not only just with DJ sets to prepare for, music to stay on top of,
Yeah.
produ- putting more time into productions and fitting that in with a busy touring schedule. More and more feeling the pressure to have a bigger and bigger social media presence. Um, how are you maintaining focus, or what are some goals that you set for yourself to stay to kind of stay working towards what you want to become as an artist when there's so many different things going on in the career right now?
That's a great question, and well, I'm truly lucky to have an amazing team that's been supportive. and it's a newer team as well. Not my booking agent. I've been working with my booking agent for 3 years now, but I have a PR manager. I have a new management as well, a new management team. I have someone helping me with social media too, which I think is important. And ultimately, I have great support at home. Also, my partner is very, very supportive of my project. I can ask him anything, even like he's the first to hear whatever track I'm gonna work on. He's the first to hear and give me feedback and say this is crap or yeah, you're onto something good. Um, but yeah, I think it's all about like prioritizing, which also is a bit complicated. But sometimes I just gotta focus on the music first. It's a music industry, and some people focus a lot of time on social media and their brand, etc., which is also very important. But music needs to be the priority here. So I always try to remind myself when I have to organize my week, when it feels overwhelming, I look at all the stuff I have to do and I prioritize based on the fact that music comes first. So if I need to take a whole day not doing anything on social media and just focus on the music in the studio, that will be the best thing for my project, I feel.
Yeah, amazing. And I think we'll wrap this up with it's, ADE to New Year's Eve is probably the fastest moving stretch
Right.
in this industry. Things just start flying by. What are some projects that you're excited for that are happening over, up until the new year and then maybe going into 2025?
I have a release coming out. It's actually another remix for an Egyptian duo called Husa Zeyada. I don't know if you've heard of them. They made a track with Hernan
Oh, nice.
last year. And they asked me to remix one of their tracks, and they're a duo. They're also a couple. She sings and does the bass, and he does the rest of the production. And they're really, really good, really talented, and it's been great to remix one of their tracks. So that's also something I'm very excited about, and it's also a different track, different sound than I've ever made before. So I'm looking forward to seeing the reactions and the feedback from it. I've been testing it out a lot. It's been really, really cool to see like people trying to Shazam it when it's not even out yet, and that's like the best kind of feedback you can get when you play a song live. Um, Really excited for that. I also have some exciting shows. I hope John's gonna get better. We have a show planned in Chicago, so hopefully he can make it. But of course, I would understand if he needs to take more time. I have shows next week as well for Halloween. I'm not sure yet if I'm gonna wear a costume because funny story, I showed up to a Halloween party last year. I was mixing and I was the only DJ that dressed up. I felt really, really weird. So I'm not sure yet if I'm gonna wear a costume, but that's gonna be a lot of fun with Lee Burridge in LA, and a big festival in Edmonton the next day. So that's gonna be great.
I'm going to keep asking questions because more stuff comes to mind. So, if my memory serves me correctly, I saw your name on an Anjunadeep flyer
Yeah.
in New York.
Yeah.
So awesome. In this underground electronic music scene, this underground progressive scene, let's say, progressive is only one small corner of the electronic music landscape. Within that little corner, there's all of this different sides of the progressive scene. And my question to you is this, is what I think labels like Anjunadeep are really awesome for the underground because while maybe some of the most underground purists won't say they may consider something like Anjunadeep too commercial in some instances.
Yeah.
But
More accessible. Yeah.
I think accessible
Yeah.
is a much better word
Yeah.
because what this scene needs most, in my opinion, is a continue of younger clubbers getting excited about the progressive sound. And I feel like Anjunadeep does a really great job
Yeah.
of kind of sticking to it's great music, it's quality music, but it's just a little bit more pop sensible, and it's a little bit more inviting and accessible to the youngest, most novice clubbers that are falling in love with the music, but they need something to understand. So, and then on the other side, you're doing gigs with like bedrock. Like bedrock's always going to be bedrock, uncompromising, avant-garde, pushing the sound forward. What's it been like, kind of like not, like being in different corners and not feeling defined to be like in one sphere of the progressive world,
Yeah.
or a different sphere.
Yeah, and there's been I've done a few shirts this year with All Day I Dream with Lee Burridge
Oh,
too.
another perfect example.
Yeah, and which is also, I think, coming back to what you said about Anjunadeep, I think All Day I Dream is also very good to like bring some fresh music that's very accessible and kind of bring them to the events and then play like darker stuff. And I've heard Lee Burridge play like progressive stuff as well, like in a darker setting, not always the dreamy like daytime stuff. And I mean, he's an incredible DJ as well. So I completely follow what you just said in terms of I just want people to like what I play and enjoy and have a good time. And I'm not like a purist in a way. I don't want to be like, oh no, this artist is too commercial for me or whatever. I think um, we're all passionate people, and what we want is just to kind of thrive as artists. And I wanted to just connect with as much people as possible. And yeah, so it's been great for me to be associated to brands like Anjunadeep, All Day I Dream, but also I've had a release on Days Like Nights and Bedrock. And um, it's really good to kind of just also show my versatility,
Yeah, definitely.
because I consider myself as being quite versatile when it comes to music, when it comes to sets. And I truly adapt to whatever setting I'm in. Of course, I'm not going to go into like dubstep or anything like completely different. I have kind of my universe, but it's really good to not be associated to just one brand and one genre. And to be honest, also my productions, I've struggled, and I'm still struggling to this day to find that one label that can truly understand what I'm trying to do, and that truly fits where I want to go with my music. So maybe someday I'm gonna have to have my own label
Yeah.
and release my music in there and encourage like people that have a similar sound to mine. So yeah, long answer, but yeah, that's how I feel.
Oh no, it's awesome, and I feel like the kind of the underground progressive sound is in such a, honestly, a healthy place. There's so
Yeah.
many people have their preferences of the sounds within, but there's so many different sounds, and there's new combinations to bring those sounds together into one production. We'll let these little guys finish up, but okay, chill. Um, but yeah, like so. I think that's awesome that you'd want to start a label. I think you're like a perfect artist to take that initiative on, continue to drive this sound forward. And I just want to wish you nothing but success. Like,
Thank you.
your respect for the music is so like clear, and it comes through in your music and your sets. Your reverence for the history of this music and your respect for the people that have paved the way. And I'm just really stoked that, when these legends of our scene in a few years, we've already been experiencing it, they're going to have to take a step back. They're going to want to be with their families. We all want them to DJ forever, but maybe 100 gigs a year starts looking like 25 gigs a year. And it seems like the old guard is kind of doing little symbolic passings of the baton, whether it's, John inviting you to so many of the Bedrock events, having your track lead off the live in stereo, to artists like Spencer Brown, and how supportive he's been of them. And I just think the progressive scene itself is lucky to have an artist like you being one of the people to lead us into this next generation for pretty much the decade to come. So I'm just like
you.
super stoked to see
You.
all your work, all your music, and thanks so much for joining
Thank
us.
you so much. Thanks for having me, and thanks for all your kind words. And I look forward to the future as well.